ओम नमः शिवाय। 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 ओम हर हर नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Salutations to all. So we will chant first three verses of Sadhana Panchakam. वेदो नित्यमधीयतां तदुदितं कर्मस्वनुष्ठीयताम् तेनेशस्य विधीयताम् अपचितिः काम्ये मतिस्त्यज्यताम् पापौघः परिधूयतां भवसुखे दोषोऽनुसन्धीयताम् आत्मेच्छाव्यवसीयतां निजगृहात् पूर्णं विनिर्गम्यताम् सङ्गसत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयताम् शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरम् कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यताम् सद्विद्वानुपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुकासेव्यताम् ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम्. So till this we have done, where a person approaches the Guru and then serves the Guru and also does the Upasana, Brahmaikaksharam Arthyatam, chant the mantra Om, and with such a mind which is selfless and single-pointed, Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Listen to the truth from the teacher. Today we will do the third one. You can repeat. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam. Shruti Shiraha Paksha Samashriyatam. Dustarkat Suviramyatam. Shrutimataha Tarkonusandhiyatam. Yeah, one question I put full confusion. Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. Then Tattvamasi, that thou art. Then after this comes which one? Ayam Atma Brahma. Then Aham Brahmasmi. 4 Mahavakyas. Totally how many Mahavakyas are there? But then why 4 are said? One from each Veda. Every Upanishad has Mahavakya or not? Yes. Pakka. Or only these 4 have? Every Upanishad has. Good. Itna to yaad hai. So what is reflection? Using scriptural logic to clear the doubts that we may have. How can I be this Brahman? How can I not be the body? Use the logic given by the scriptures. Vakyarthastha vicharyatam. Shrutimatas tarkonusandhiyatam. Now why reflection is required? This we have seen. 4 stages of learning we have seen. Quarter at the feet of a teacher. Quarter by one's own reflection. Third quarter by? That is your reflection already came. Somebody said, by discussing with the co-seekers. And fourth by time and experience, it will come. Acharyat padam adatte, padam shishya swamedhaya, padam sabrahmacharibhya, padam kala kramena cha. Learning happens in 4 levels, 4 stages, sorry. Subtler the subject, greater this requirement. So if one says, no, I only attend lecture and I think on my own, then first 2 are done. But this group reflection is very important. That's why Gurudev started study groups. That why study groups are required, to sit and discuss. Because in listening, there is a big danger. What is the danger, you know? The illusion that I have understood. The illusion that I have understood. Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Understood. The moment you step out of this room, slate is clean. If somebody asks at home, what did they tell? Something they said. One won't be able to explain. It's an illusion that I have understood. But if I discuss, then it will go deeper. So reflection is important. So the third step is reflect with co-seekers. And fourth, it will come in time. How it will come in time? If I am striving to live by this knowledge that I am convinced by, then it will come by time, not by itself. If I don't strive to change my thought process, even for simple things like suppose we say alcohol is not good for the body, cigarette is not good for the body. Now I know it. I can give lecture on it also. But as soon as the lecture is over, I go out and then in time it will not happen. Some people think in time it will happen. By itself it will happen. Gurudev always used to say, old age comes by passage of time, maturity comes only by reflection. Just by time, We may learn a few things in the world, but not Brahma Vidya will not come just by time. Unless I apply and I change my thought process and I live according to that, then by time it will come. The fourth stage is given only so that we don't become impatient. The fourth stage is not for postponement, procrastination, and delaying. Anyway, it will come in time. It is not to say that I don't have to reflect or apply it in my daily life. I have studied, I have discussed, now in time it will happen. No, no. It is not for that postponement. It is only for us to not become very impatient. At the right time, the person has to sow the seeds, water the seeds, put the manure, all that one has to do. Then in time it will grow. But if we say I've sown the seed, rest of it will happen in time. I am not going to water. It will not work. So I have to do. So these four stages are very crucial. And reflection, what should I do? The result of reflection is intellectual conviction. This we have seen earlier. So it should help us to drop the false notions. After studying Vedanta, if I still continue to hold the contrary thought, then this knowledge will not take deep roots within me and I will not be able to transform my vision. So what are the false values? I should be able to drop them. So yuktibihi anuchintanam, continuously to reflect. That's the definition of mananam. So vakyarthascha vicharyatam. This applies to any transformation that I want to achieve. Especially here, what is the transformation we are trying to achieve? I am not a jiva, I am pure consciousness. I am that Brahman. If I am really convinced by it, then my whole living will be according to that. Externally, I may play the roles, but internally, I know this is a role, I am not this. So that way, the intellectual conviction has to happen. Now, vakyarthascha vicharyatam, shrutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam. So this logic is not a means of knowledge. Logic is a supportive means. Just by logic can I realize the truth? Logic is a double-edged sword. You can prove something by logic, you can disprove by logic, but transformation doesn't happen just by logic. It's a supportive role to give me conviction. Many people, they think of the logic as the final thing. So they will say, I am an intellectual. I don't believe in devotion. I only think and I use logic. But logic is very limited. It is no doubt necessary, but it's very limited. Logically, everybody knows that cigarette smoking is harmful. But how much are they able to live? Just the knowledge of that and logical understanding of that, is it enough? No. So it cannot substitute my assimilation and practice. It can aid that. It can help that. So all my knowledge and my study should help me to surrender this ego. Whether I follow path of knowledge or I follow path of devotion, surrender has to happen. If that doesn't happen, then that means there is what we call limitation. Logic has only given me certain information, but it has not transformed my vision as such. So he says, Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. And which logic should one use? The logic of the scriptures. Shruti Shira, meaning the Vedant. Shruti means the Veda, head. Head means the essence, the main part. The main part of the Veda is the Upanishads. The Upanishads give proper logic that why you are Brahman, why the world is an illusion, why our nature is Satchidanand. That logic I have to apply. Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Then he says, Dustarkat Suviramyatam. Avoid fallacious logic. This fallacious logic is terrific. Any logic people use. What is fallacious logic? I will come to that. But why is this logic required? Because our buddhi, especially logic, is required for jnana marg. You see, this mananam is given in this jnana marg because jnana marg people are very, very intellectual. So if you are very intellectual and you want cause and effect and sequence, then logic has to be used. If I am able to just surrender and say everything is God's will, I accept, then I don't have to break my head with so much of logic. Jnana Marga has to do two steps. Use logic also and then surrender also. Here they will surrender. Doesn't mean it's illogical, but the mode of operation is different. So in Jnana Marg here, it is use the logic and scriptural logic because it is beyond BMI. That's why more important is to use logic. And because it is beyond BMI, logic cannot take me there because logic stops at the intellect. Now somebody says, no, emotion also stops at the mind. But that's a big difference there. Ego surrenders completely when there is proper devotion to the Supreme. In that understanding of the Supreme, ego will disappear. Same thing logic has to do. Take us to the height of the buddhi and then transcend it. So I am able to withdraw from body, mind, intellect because I am convinced that I am not the body, mind, intellect. Logic has to help me in withdrawal. Then that logic is proper. Otherwise, it's just informative. It doesn't change anything. Now coming to this. Now, dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatas tarkonu sandhiyatam. Now, what is this fallacious logic? Fallacious logic, first of all, will have no valid reasoning. So many examples of fallacious logic you can give. It appears as though it's a logic, but it's not logic. Simple example of that is I love my professor. Professor loves the daughter, so I love the daughter. Okay. Logical or not? A is equal to B, B is equal to C, so A is equal to C. It's fallacious logic in this context. Like that, it doesn't have any valid reasoning at all. It appears as though it has. That's called Hetu Abhas. It's only appearance of logic. It's not really logic. And there's no valid experiential proof. In this also you see that. Is there experiential proof that the daughter loves you? No. You love the daughter? No. Simply by logic you are saying something. So that's called Hetu Abhas. So like that there is logic can be used and misused also. Many people use this logic to say that there is no God. One very, very logical, so-called logical statement that they will apply for this is what? If God was there, there would not be suffering in the world. Because there is suffering in the world, there is no God. What kind of a logic is that? My assumption there is that God must ensure that there is no suffering in the world. But God gave you Purusharth, no? And that Purusharth is the cause of so much suffering in the world. Human being breaks all the laws. Otherwise, in Ishvara Srishti, there is no problem. Happily, it is going on. So, it appears as though there is a logic. But there is no logic in that. Hetu Abhas only it is not true logic. So, that's called fallacious logic. So, one has to be away from such fallacious logic. Like that, there are lots of things which people have wrong notions. Greed is good. Without greed, we cannot grow. Contentment is harmful. What logic? Because we feel contentment is complacency. We have equated contentment to complacency. So we say greed is good. Without greed, I cannot grow. Now, appears very logical statement. But if we start analyzing, then we find the flaws in that. So like that, this intellectual vanity, false pride, fallacious logic, these are all, they will all come together. What is happening today in the country, one of the causes is this only. There is no logic only. Somehow they are protesting for what? They have not even read the act properly, what is happening, what is being, and what is not yet come, assuming on all that. Fallacious logic or no logic at all. So a spiritual seeker must be very careful to use logic to understand very clearly that how Brahman exists, number one. Number two, how Brahman is my nature. These two are very important. Existence of Brahman or God itself has to be established very clearly. The strange part is after many, many years of study of Vedanta also, many people will still doubt, does God exist? Or they will repeat what everybody else repeats. I don't believe in God, I believe in power. I believe in nature. I believe in energy. God is energy. God cannot be power, God cannot be energy, God cannot be nature. Very different. But nobody understands that only clearly. After many, many years of study of Vedanta also, sometimes just to conform to the society pressure, one will say that, yes, yes, I believe what? God is energy. So because the clarity is not there. Hence, all these, and the strange part is sometimes when one uses fallacious logic, one has intellectual vanity of it. You see, I'll show you one clip. Simple clip it is. It's a very humorous clip. It's a small girl who is talking to a doctor about delivery of a child. It's a very funny clip. But that is how it is going on. Elders also behave today like this only. It's quite an old clip actually. It's come before also. But I saw today only again.
A doctor for women.
What do you do
This is my office.
What do you do?
I'm a doctor for women.
What do you do them?
I deliver their babies.
Deliver?
When the woman has the baby inside of her, then I go in and I take it out.
No, you don't. Everybody knows that the stork brings the baby.
Who told you that?
My daddy.
Okay. Well, the stork puts the baby inside of the mother, and then I go in and I take it out.
The stork brings the baby to the hospital, drops it in the bassinet.
So you say that the baby is not inside the mommy. Then why is it that the mother gets real big?
Because she eats a lot of food.
Now let me get this straight. You say that the stork carries over, puts the baby in the bassinet, and the mother is real big because she eats a lot of food.
You got it.
I see. Well, then why is it that the mother has to go to the hospital?
The stork brings the baby to the hospital, drops it in the bassinet. The mama goes to the hospital and gets it.
If the stork does all that, why doesn't the stork just bring it to the mommy's house?
Because too far, his wings would get tired.
Where does the stork get the babies from?
Heaven.
Okay. There's a zillion, skillion babies in heaven. How does the stork know what baby goes where What mother?
They're all in a line. You know, like go to the baker and get a number.
When I put my hand on the mother, I could feel things moving all around.
That's not a baby.
What is it?
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining it to me.
You're welcome, but you still didn't tell me what you do.
I'm in charge of gas.
Funny clip, na? The Guru Shishya conversation is like this only. How the Guru will tell you, you are Brahman, but this Shishya is convinced that I am Jiva only. And all kinds of logic that Shishya will have. That's called fallacious logic. Appears very logical, but all fallacious logic will have an assumption. You have to question that assumption. That on the basis of the assumption, it is all built. Here, what is the assumption? The stork brings the baby. Full stop. Now, rest of it is cooked up. Like that, there will be assumptions. And then there is intellectual vanity, false pride, all that stuff. So, Dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatas tarkonu sandhiyatam. Shravan is over, Manan is over. Now comes Nididhyasan. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. Contemplate. Aham Brahmasmi. Contemplate on that. What will happen with that? This Deha Bhavana will be replaced with Brahma Bhav. What we have learnt earlier, that Viparita Bhavana is there. I may know intellectually, but I still feel I am the Jiva because the identification with the body is there for a long, long time. Many, many lives we have lived like the body. So that Viparita Bhavana, how it will go? It will go only when we withdraw our attention from the BMI and attach it to the self. So the experience of contemplation is this. Detach from the BMI, attach to the truth, and the result will be, it will lead to Samadhi. So the definition is this: Advitiya Vastuni Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha. Continuous thought flow towards the non-dual Brahman. This is the step which we have to apply in contemplation. We don't have to become blank. We don't have to become thoughtless. So Brahmasmiti Vibhavyatam. So on one hand, I must contemplate on that Brahman. And contemplation, as I said, is detached from the BMI, attached to the truth. In that, the more the focus comes on the truth, detachment also will happen. But in the day-to-day life, I have to consciously ensure that I don't encourage the ego. So that's why two steps are important. Now, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, this is specifically called Jnana Abhyas. Now, the Jnana Abhyas, how Gurudev explained in simple language. Listening removes, I don't know, the ignorance. Reflection removes, I can't understand. And Nididhyasan, contemplation removes, I don't experience. So Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, all the three are very crucial. This is the Jnana Abhyas. Having purified the mind, unified the mind, this is what has to be done. Now, day-to-day life must be in sync with the Jnana Abhyas. If the day-to-day life is opposite direction, then Jnana Abhyas will not be effective. So the next instruction he says, Brahmasmiti Vibhavyatam Aharahar Garbha Parityajyatam. Every day, again and again, drop the ego. Aharahar Garbha Parityajyatam. So what is ego? Ego is false identification. In Vedanta, we mean false identification. I am this body, mind, intellect. That false identification is called ego. And that has to be dropped. So now how to drop this ego? In the day-to-day life, in contemplation, I'm dropping by connecting to the Lord, the supreme truth, and withdrawing from the BMI. In the day-to-day life, how do I drop the ego? So think about the Lord and the whole infinite creation. And what is my existence in that? Not even a speck. So much of vanity one has about oneself. So thinking about the infinite, one can drop the ego. Have an altar of surrender. Ask oneself to what is my work surrendered. It may be any altar. The highest is Bhagwan, but it can be country, culture, family, anything. So have the altar of surrender and practice letting go of this self-importance. This question, what's in it for me? Or what did I gain? That question only should dissolve. But then how will I progress? In offering my best to the Lord, one will progress. Not wanting recognition for oneself. Third is the ability to accept life as it comes. That instruction will come ahead also. Acceptance itself is one big sign of surrender. That whatever life brings, I'm able to accept. How I will respond to it, that is the second step. But first I have to accept, not resist and fight and question that I don't deserve this. Why did this come to me? No such fight. Accept life brings. So 3 aspects. Give and forgive. These are all practically applicable in our daily life. The more we learn to give, the more we become egoless. The more we want to take. You see, it's a very interesting research also done. The people who live in the attitude of giving, their potential also manifests more. Because they become active. So they want to give, they want to contribute, they want to do something, they want to make a difference. People who are waiting to receive, they just wait. Potential doesn't manifest only. And as one grows in age, the degeneration of the brain also starts happening more in those who are waiting to receive, rather than those who are actively going out and giving. So giving is another big aspect of how to drop the ego, is learn to give and forgive. Because only thing that stops us from forgiveness is ego and insecurity. Otherwise, there's nothing to, no problem. One can just forgive. Again, I'm saying this is as far as an individual is concerned. As a totality, if one has to forgive internally and yet fight externally, it has to be done, then it has to be done. We have misunderstood this forgiveness in such a way that we have allowed people to come and dominate us and destroy us, just in the name of ahimsa. Where one has to fight, one has to fight. But no hatred. Mahabharata itself shows that. Where Arjun had to fight, he has to fight and he has to destroy Duryodhana and the Kauravas, because that's in the interest of the whole country. Not for land, not for revenge, not for property, no, but for the sake of righteousness. He doesn't say that, oh, I forgive Duryodhana and let him go. No, no. So forgive, give and forgive. And as much as I can give, love unconditionally. Vairagya, what we thought about, think about the ephemeral nature of life. Think about death, think about old age, think about saints. All this will put things in perspective. One day one is going to drop this body. What will one take forward? One's mind only. How much grudge one holds against people for what they did or for what they did not do, and victimizes oneself and then spoils one's present. Something would have happened in the past, not able to let go, holding on, holding on, holding on. Short life, how best can I use it? I have to learn that. So ego will go in all these different methods. The deepest is detached from the I thoughts. What Ramana Maharshi said, this I thought should not come only. How? When I engage, whether it is in nature or it is in God or in my profession or whatever I love to do, in that I lose this, where I don't think about this small I. So ahar garva parityajyatam, drop this ego. These two sadhanas have to go together. Day-to-day life, ego has to become lesser, then contemplation will go deeper. More deeper it goes, more easier it will be to drop the ego. This is actually Vedantic sadhana proper. Ahar garva parityajyatam, dehe ham mati rujyatam. That is coming together. Buddha janaihi vada parityajyatam. With wise people, stop arguing. Debate, questioning, that is not a problem. But this is argument, vada. Question, ask, counter, disagree and learn, no problem. But argument for the sake of argument, or trying to test them, or trying to win over them. Some, I don't remember the name, but some intellectual scholar, he sent one message to Kabir Das Ji, challenging him for a debate. Kabir Das Ji wrote a reply and said, I accept my defeat, you have won. Without any debate, without anything. Because what did he understand? He understood that this man is not interested in the truth. He is only interested in proving that he knows so much and then he can win. He said, I'm not interested only. So wise people will just give up beforehand only. They are not interested in argument for the sake of argument. Because anyway, truth is not realized by logic. It is realized by withdrawing and by surrendering the ego. So where logic is not going to play a role, debate or argument is just for the sake of superiority and proving the ego, boosting the ego, the wise people will not engage in that battle at all. So ask to learn and not to argue in vain or to prove your point is better than his. Now why not argue with the wise? Because we are otherwise. Simplest. Their experience is very different. Some of them won't even speak, but they are having the highest experience. Ramana Maharshi is a man of few words. He doesn't give long lectures. But one statement from him is enough, is born out of that depth of experience. So we are otherwise, and what to argue with them? They have experience, we don't have that experience. So one reason is that. Other is they will keep quiet and they'll agree. What you are saying is correct. Then instead of having gone to them and surrendered the ego and having got the experience of realization, the reverse happens. We boost our ego and we come back. Saying, I defeated that person also. But you lost actually. In the argument, you feel you have defeated, but you lost. Because in the presence of that person, you could have experienced the absolute truth. So Buddha Janai Vada Parityajyata. Because sometimes we won't understand from what standpoint are they making that statement. We are stuck in our standpoint only. They are talking from a different standpoint. That's why in the Gita that line comes, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagarti Sanyam. What is night for all the beings is day for this realized master. Meaning the master is awake to the truth. He is asleep to the world. And we are awake to the world and asleep to the truth. So better it is to go to them with the attitude of humility to learn rather than arguing. There are some people who will ask, I've asked this question to lots of people, Swamiji. I'm asking you also. See, if you have not got satisfactory answer and genuinely you want an answer for it, it's still understandable. But they are just asking sometimes because they want to know. What is your opinion on this? One man, he asked J. Krishnamurti, what do you think about Osho? What was J. Krishnamurti's reply? Fantastic reply. He said, I don't think about Osho. Because this man, he is not interested in truth learning from J. Krishnamurti. He wants some controversial bite. He said, what do you think about J. Krishnamurti? He said, I don't think about J. Krishnamurti. Khatam baat. In today's world, how much controversies keep happening in the world? Half of it is because of all this only. Straight thinking, if one does, there is no need. So wise people are like that. They operate from a different realm standpoint. Now we don't know that standpoint. And one wants for something else only, one is approaching them. So they will become quiet. And one who realizes the self will anyway become completely silent. What will the arguments do? One person, one great saint, his name is Sadashiva Brahmendra. He was like this, very logical person and discussion, debates, and he will sit with everybody and then have long arguments, discussion, everything. One day the master said, he called him, he was passing by when they are doing the discussion. He looked at him and the master said, Chumma iru, meaning keep quiet or shut up. Sadashiva Brahmendra, he actually took that instruction to heart. He said, my guru said, shut up. He became quiet. Bas, realize the absolute truth. So much of argumentation, everything, the master said, enough, now just stop. He said, okay, the teacher said stop. So he just stopped. Turn the attention within, realize the truth. Ho gaya kaam. So if one is ready, the silence of the master is most powerful, not the words. See, even the words which are born from the master are born out of silence. Gurudev actually used to say, out of silence and purity are born words of power. So if the master says something and somebody else says something, the difference between the statement may be nothing in terms of words, but the impact of the statements will be completely different. An ignorant man saying it and a realized master saying the same thing, it will touch the heart of the student in a different way. And that's why it is said that we have to listen to the truth from a Sadguru, a realized master. Because from the depth of their experience, when they say something, that word has a different impact altogether on us. And hence it is that the silence of the master, if we are able to tune up, words are not required. If silence we cannot tune up, then the second level will be words. If by indicative words we cannot understand, then there will be logic. You see, logic comes third. Logic is not the first one. First is silence. Second is just indicative words. Like the teacher said to him, keep quiet. Bas. Nisargadatta Maharaj's teacher told him, you are not the body, mind, intellect. You are not the jiva. That's all. He took it to heart and he realized. So silence comes first. Then comes indicative words. Then if I still don't understand, then comes logic. If I still can't understand that logic and push myself up, then will come all the other sadhanas of single-pointedness, selflessness, service, all those will come. So that's the sequence. So, Buddha Janai Vada Parityajyatam. Now 3 verses are done. The 4th verse now is actually a verse of fine-tuning. How to fine tune our equipment. Before that, this one nice thing I read somewhere. 4 types of speakers who are there. First type of speaker is Mr. Right. Whatever that person says is right. Whatever the other person says is wrong. Second is Mr. Knowledgeable. This person wants to go on exhibiting how much he or she knows. He's not really interested in the truth. The third person is Mr. Opponent. He doesn't know what is the truth, but whatever you say is wrong. Opponent. And fourth is Mr. Open, who is open-minded, who will really one is interested only in knowing the truth. This is in our scriptures only, this is given. English language we have put it here, but otherwise Vada, Jalpa, Vitanda, like that, there are all different types of people who are different types of attitudes towards arguments. Vada, they will only keep debating, not interested in truth. Vivad, Vad, all that. Jalpa, they are like Mr. Knowledgeable, they go on talking. Vitanda will be like an opponent. Whatever you say is wrong. What is the truth? That I don't know, but what you are saying is wrong. Only oppose for the sake of opposing. What is the truth, Are Baba? You are saying wrong. Full stop. I'll prove you wrong somehow. Logic or no logic, I'll just prove you wrong. Mr. Open is the last one. The Jignasu, who really wants to know what is the truth and is ready to change one's ideas and opinions to know the truth. Now comes the fine-tuning. Kshudvyadhischa chikitsyatam pratidinam bhikshaushadham bhujyatam swadvannam na tuyachyatam vidhivashat praptena santushyatam शीतोष्णादि विषह्यताम् न तु वृथा वाक्यं समुच्चार्यताम् औदासीन्यमभीप्स्यताम् जनकृपा नैष्ठुर्यमुत्सृज्यताम्. So he says here, Kshudvyadhischa chikitsyatam. Treat hunger like a disease. And what is the medicine for it? Food. Bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. Take the food as medicine. Swadvannam natu yachyatam. Don't crave for taste. Vidhivashat praptena santushyatam. Whatever comes by destiny, just eat. Then he says, Shitoshnadi Vishahyatam. Bear the pairs of opposites with equanimity. Natu vritha vakyam samucharyatam. Don't waste time in just simple, waste idle talk or gossip. Audasinyam abhipsyatam. Be indifferent to petty things in life, small little things, we are making big issue out of it. And Janakripa Naishturyam Utsrijyatam. Don't come under the obligation of people. Now let's see what each of these means. So now these are fine tunings. See, these are specifically meant for a seeker who has renounced the home. But even if one has not renounced home, many of these can be applied adapting to our own situation also. So treat hunger as a disease. Kshudvyadhischa chikitsyatam. Hunger is a disease and treat food as a medicine. So in disease, we are not at ease and we want to cure. So hunger is like a disease. Every few hours we feel hungry. So we are not at ease. So take the medicine. Now in disease, what do I do? One is the pathyam, which is medicine which is given, and other is vidhi and nishad, what you should eat and what you should not eat, control. You see, this hunger is a disease. If one treats it like that, then food becomes a medicine. But today, what we are doing, we have eaten in such a way that now medicine has become the food. One is taking pill after pill, so many. One actually wonders, why am I eating food? Because today everything one has to take a pill. Vitamin D pill, vitamin C pill, vitamin E pill, vitamin B pill, vitamin A pill. Everything is a pill. And what am I eating food for? Only some carbs. After some time, you'll have pills for carbs also. That I don't know if it's still available. I may be ignorant. Maybe that is also available. Who knows? Today they are saying eliminate the carbs. So that's going to another extreme. People are becoming anorexic. See, food, if anybody asks you a question, do you eat to live or live to eat? What will you say? We like to say we eat to live, but actually the fact is we are living to eat only. That is not very easy to accept. Because if I eat to live, then I will eat what is necessary for the body. No? It's very strange how we give the right type of input for various things. In a diesel car, will you put petrol? You will put only diesel, no? If this phone has to be charged, we will charge in the normal socket or will charge in the highly industrial electrical output input socket. It will blast away, burn away. I have to put proper input. But this body, one doesn't treat as an equipment. Anything. So, for a seeker, what it is, Shuddh Vyadhistha Chikitsatam. Treat hunger as a disease. Then what is the point, Swamiji? Maja hi chala jayega. That's my point. I told you that. That we are not living to it. We are eating to, we are not eating to live. We are living to eat. Finally, at the end of the day, you know, a camp, if you want to announce it, an event or a camp was very successful, food has to be good. Whatever we may say in Vedanta class, you are not the body. You give them bland food, they will say, "Kya humko utna dur leke gaye camp mein," and they give such bland food. Because horrible camp. Don't go next time to Chinmay Mission camp. What did you learn? Shuddh Vyadhistha Chikitsatam. Tapan Maharaj used to eat food like that only, bland food. Then comes that type of vairagya. We don't want to apply any of that and then say, I want to realize Brahman, but you give me proper food. Huh? That is not going to work. I'm not saying torture one, but I'm saying the attachment to food, how much attachment one has. Whole life actually will surround around finally food only. Food, comfort of living, that's all. Clothes, that's it. Nothing more than that. So, Shuddh Vyadhis, for a seeker, it is a disease. And take enough rest also. That rest also one is not taking enough. If disease is there, these three things one will do. The body is constantly as a disease only. Shuddh Vyadhistha Chikitsatam. So now, what is the attitude towards food? Chandogya Upanishad says, Annamayam hi manaha. As the food is, so is our mind. Because the subtle essence of the food becomes our mind. So that's why I say, Jaisa Ann, Vaisa Man, Jaisa Pani, Vaisi Vani. As the food, so the mind is. The Chandogya Upanishad gives the whole experiment. That the student is told to, you know, start fasting and then after some time stop eating food. And he is taught a certain Vedic mantras and suktams, etc. And after a few days, when that child is not eaten properly and he has been fasting, the memory of the child also has got affected. So that experiment is done to show that food has a direct impact on the mind. And then he's given food properly, again his memory starts functioning well. So as the food is, the quality of the food definitely affects the mind. Ahara shuddha, sattva shuddhi. That sattva there means not sattva guna. Sattva there means the mind. So if the food is pure, then the mind also will become pure. Now, what are the aspects? See how the food is divided. The Upanishad says the gross part becomes our body, the muscles, blood, fat, all that. The waste part comes out and the subtle part becomes our mind. What is the subtle part of the food? All those vitamins, minerals, all that which is there, that is the gross part of the food. But the environment in which it has been grown, the attitude with which it has been grown, with which it has been, cooked, served, all those, along with the intrinsic guna of that food, whether it is sattvic by nature or not, that is a subtle part of the food. If the food by itself is tamasic food, then the impact on the mind will be tamasic only. Like all this meat and alcohol and all this is all tamasic. Even dietitians will say that or not. What remains in the system for the longest period of time will create maximum toxins in the body. Simple logic they apply. Meat remains in the body for 72 hours, minimum. To get out of the system, minimum 72 hours it will be there inside. So it will create maximum toxins. Fruit will go out very fast. And even those foods which have more water, to fastest. So fruits, vegetables, dry fruits, pulses, cereals, all these, they go out faster than this meat, maida, all that. So the subtle part of the food is all these. The nutritional value is different, but the guna, inherent guna of that food, that is the subtle part. That will influence the mind. So these are some points about ahara shuddhi, which we have taken from the Vaishnava Sampradaya. So first and foremost, they say the food must be sattvic food. That's the most important point. Rajasic, Tamasic, Sattvic. You want to know which are these foods? Refer to 17th chapter of the Gita. All the three are given there very nicely. So the Sattvic food will be Rasya, Snigdha, Sthira, Hridya. They will be juicy. They will have good lubrication. They will stabilize the body, not make the body fluctuate in its hormones and juices and all that. And Hridya, which are good for the heart. So sattvic food. And what will that sattvic food do? Ayuhu, Sattva, Bala, Arogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. They will increase these 6 factors. Ayu is age or longevity. Sattva is Sattva Guna. Bala, strength. Ayu, Sattva, Bala. Arogya, health. Sukha, happiness. Priti, love. They will increase these in our personality. So food must be sattvic. Fresh and raw food has definitely much more prana. But today we have become used to eating so much cooked food that our digestive system is not able to digest all raw prana, raw food. So one has to train oneself slowly. Temperament of the cook must be cheerful and happy. This has a big role to play. Don't irritate the cook. Or the cook is irritated, tell the cook, please calm down and then cook. So temperament of the cook. Now the money earned through right means must be used to buy the food. Because the attitude with which the person has done the work affects the money. That money we are using to buy the food. Now we say, but how do we know now who has done with what attitude work? That's why we do the Brahmarpanam and all that, and it's dedicated to Bhagavan. So our attitude definitely will be better when we consume. But as much as we can, we should know this very clearly, that the money with which we buy the food should be a righteous money. That has a big impact again. Food must be served with love in clean utensils, not with anger ki kha abhi, बैठ गया तो पूरा दिन खाते रहता है. Some people are like that. They just give, they serve like that with so much of animosity and anger and dislike and all that. No, serve lovingly, because your attitude of serving also will affect the food, and the person eating also, their mind will be in a better state. Whatever may be the fight one has had, in food one should not bring it out, because that will affect the mind of both the people, not just the person. Many times they bring it out on the person eating the food. Extra mirchi dal diya. Let that person suffer now. How can a person say like this to me? I am going to do it. For you, you have taken out separate. After that, put everything and then give. People do. But already you have affected yourself so much. You don't need mirchi. You already destroyed your the harmful hormones have already got secreted in the body already when you got so upset and angry. So serve with love in clean utensils. It must not have hair and dust. Must be balanced in nutrients and alkaline in the metabolic end product. That is another important aspect. Acidic things are the causes of a lot of diseases are acidity only. Simple points, how much ever one can apply. Ahara Shuddhi. Now that food has to be taken as a medicine. Bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. And that is bhiksha. So now bhiksha is a concept of what? Why people serve bhiksha and why do the seekers live on bhiksha? Because the seeker's time and effort is saved in cooking and in going and collecting, and whole grahasti starts otherwise. Why don't they employ a cook? That the cook needs provisions, no? And the cook will come and say, aaj aata nahi hai, aaj chawal nahi hai, aaj ye nahi hai, aaj wo nahi hai, and then again one has to start all that. One. Two, you see, brahmachari and sannyasis are allowed to seek bhiksha because full time dedicate to serving the society to pursuit of knowledge. And their service, their pursuit of knowledge is to serve back the society, give that knowledge to the society. So Anna Bhiksha is taken by them and Jnana Bhiksha is given by them. Otherwise, too much time goes in all this cooking and all that. And there also there are rules. Traditional rules are these, only from 5 houses. Why only 5? Because we have 5 pranas. And divide the food into the 5 parts. So different disciples will go out, take the food, bring it to the monastery, and then combine everything. And then divide. In that, take one part for oneself. And don't repeat the house. Don't mark, ye ghar se to laddu milta hai. So again go to that house. No. Don't repeat the house. And don't ask for specific food. This is a traditional rule. But now people only ask, Swami, what would you like to eat? Are bhiksha only means whatever comes, vidhivashat praptena santushyatam. Some diet restriction is there, is okay, then we say without this, so that it helps the body to do sadhana. Otherwise, cook. The best part is this, they will ask, what would you like to eat? And you write and give them this, and no this. They will still make what you have told them not to make. Then what do you do? Vidivashat praptena santushyatam. Whatever you can eat from that, you eat. What you cannot eat, you leave it. What else can you do? Everybody has limitation. You feel grateful ki bheja to sahi. So many people don't have food only, yet it is getting food. So beyond a point, one doesn't complain at all. One just eats. So no insistence ki I want this only, whatever comes. When we were children, the Jain sadhus used to come to our house. Maharaj Sahib and Mahasati ji. They will come with their gochari. They will have different bowls, very interesting. They will have, one is they will keep one above the other, and other is they will have one big bowl, inside that small, inside that small, inside that small. One whole set also they will have. And they will come and you can offer to them. They will put it and they take, they go. We were very excited as children to offer bhiksha to them. So this another tradition of our culture is this, that when the sadhus come for bhiksha, then the family and the children also understand, oh, there is another way of living. Not this way of living only where everybody just runs about behind a profession and then job and then money and then family and all that. There's a completely different path of renunciation, and that samskar one sees from childhood. So traditionally, bhiksha is asked by going to 5 houses. And so these are the rules for it. It saves time and you pursue that knowledge, serve the society and give it back. If one doesn't do this in this way to give back to the society, then one is adding to one's karma. So one should producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. That is the law. That's the rule. Gurudev told us that. So take Anna Bhiksha from somebody who has taken your Jnana Bhiksha. Very important. If somebody who is attending classes regularly, take Bhiksha from them. Or in some way ensure that you are able to contribute in some way to their betterment. That will keep us in that mindset of giving and not just taking. Gurudev is to actually insist on this, that first you come to attend my lectures, and from the people who come to attend the lectures, then they can offer the bhiksha. And sometimes if he goes to the houses of new people, he will do satsang there first and then eat food. Not simply just go there and eat food. Because he used to live this principle that Anna Bhiksha should be taken after Jnana Bhiksha is given. So give food for the soul and take food for the body. So Pratidinam Bhiksha Ushadam Bhujyatam. Now Bhiksha is a very powerful means of sadhana, because when we go to ask Bhiksha, some people will give, some people will not give, some people will insult, reject. Swamiji, but we are grahastis. Don't worry. Ask for donation. Asking donation itself, you will see. For any worthy project, you have to go and ask donation. So if it is building a hospital or a school or an orphanage and all, one will still go and ask. But when it comes to a spiritual cause, then one starts. One says, nobody will give, nobody bothers. Why should I ask? They will tell 20 things. I'm not used to asking at all. That's the whole point. One of the ways to give up the ego is go and ask. What is there in asking? Cause is genuine. I don't want anything. This is the need of the hour. Go and ask. What will they say maximum? They will only say, what a fool you are. Why are you asking? That too, anyway, I know I'm a fool. Nothing new they are telling. So why worry so much? One should go and ask. Bhiksha, one should ask. So whether it is food or supporting of a noble cause or whatever it is, it will make a person humble. 15 houses if you go, 3 people may give, 12 people may shut the door on your face or may say even some criticizing things. That is the time to test whether I am equanimous or not. It's a good sadhana. When I was in Yuva Kendra, I have done this. Even now we do it, but that time though we were not even monk. You are in colored clothes and you are youngster. So we had to organize one talk of Swami, the Swamiji who was there in Chennai. He's Swami Mitranandji now. That time he was Swami Brahmachari Swabodh Chaitanya. So I took up one project saying I will organize 5 days talks in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And fully, I have to raise the funds for it because venue cost and mic and sound and everything. So some 25,000 was the budget of that whole program. In 96, I'm talking about. Now, where to get that money from? So I said, Chalo, we'll do the sadhana. We took the list of the members in that area, whoever are the members, take that list. And then I used to visit each house and ask them, this is the program, please come. These are the options for Yajman or for sponsorship. Can you please support? Some of them will support, some of them won't support, some of them will insult, some of them will be very angry, saying, you Chinmaya Mission people, you keep coming only when you want money, you don't come any other time. Say, sorry, can I help you in some way? Help. One person wanted a Bhagavad Gita. It's become very old and is very massive in size. When I saw him, I got very scared for a minute, actually. Then that person understood and he was very encouraging. He said, I want a Gita. I'm not able to go. Will you help? I said, I'll help. I went, got the Gita, gave it to him. He came forward to support. 1 full day sponsorship he gave. So like that. So when you get that, then you are not extremely elated. When you don't get, you are not extremely sad. So one can practice equanimity at such times. So Bhiksha is also like that. When one gets what one likes, sometimes the mind is very elated. When one doesn't get and something comes which one doesn't like, the mind becomes very sad. If one says, Vidhivashat praptena santushyatam, this has come from the Lord. Just eat. Convince the mind. That's the training. And very important, this is go and beg from people who know you well. So those who don't know you, their opinion will not hurt so much. Those who know, if they tell something, no, especially if you are young and you ask for donation and all that, what people will say, kahan in sab mein phase hue ho? Get a career, get a life. All this is some brainwashing. Don't get into all this. I've heard all this when I was young, when we used to go and organize programs. They may have some caution in their head because they want youngsters not to get distracted or whatever. But that is also a test of one's own clarity and conviction. When I wanted to join Brahmachari course, I went to Pavai Ashram. And whoever was the Acharya there at that time, I told him, I want to join Brahmachari course, next course. That person straight away told me, Brahmachari course, you are not fit for it. Go and get married. Straight. क्या तुमने देखा है लाइफ में? जाओ शादी कर लो. I just heard. I said, okay. And no argument. We have our clarity why I want a Brahmachari course. I came back. But there will be people like that who may say something to test or who may say something just. We can use it to strengthen our thinking. So cultivate Vairagya, and it definitely makes one humble. When we have to go and ask, it will definitely make one humble and grateful. Then one really understands this fact that the giver is the Lord actually. The Lord inspires people and the people give. Who are we? If we feel, अरे मैंने इतना donation लाया, कुछ नहीं. Bhagwan inspires people, it is Bhagwan's work and Bhagwan's money. Where did this small I come from suddenly? I got so much money. His work, he is inspiring somebody and he is giving. You are going and asking. That's all. He is asking through you also. So that attitude of gratitude really comes that when we go and ask and accept life, whatever life brings. So this attitude of bhiksha we can extend to the rest of the things. Vidhivashat praptena santushyatam. Now food, when we are eating, how to purify this food? because how it is served, how it is cooked, with what money it is bought, all that. There are so many factors in it. So generally we chant some shlokas to remember the Lord. Each one in each culture can chant whatever they like. Here we have put a few shlokas. One is this very nice one, Annapurne Sada Purne Shankara Prana Vallabhe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Bhiksham Dehi Cha Parvati. Shivji is asking this to Parvati Devi, Annapurna Devi. Shivji is saying, I want Bhiksha for what? Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham. For Jnana and Vairagya. Please give me the Bhiksha. So this Bhiksha is not for Bhoga Vritti. Because technically, actually, if we see what it is, only 2 inches of tongue. Huh? Only 2 inches of tongue. Before this, no taste. Below this, no taste. But this 2 inches of tongue, baap re baap. How much nakra it creates? Only 2 inches of tongue. Bhoga Vritti increases so much just because of this 2 inch. So, if one is able to have this attitude that, oh mother, whatever food you have given to me here, may it strengthen my jnana and vairagya, and with that bhav, let me eat. Do you know, it's very interesting. In the earlier days, when they used to go for bhiksha, some of them will have only one bowl. Or some of them will take bhiksha in this much only. What we have learned in Bhajagovindam, no? Karatala bhiksha starutala vasa. Karatala means only this much food. Food that is occupied by this much. 2 hands. Actually, if I eat food which is filled in this cup of my hand, if that quantity of food I eat, no, I will live very healthy. Swamiji, itna hi? If you don't eat, dietitian will finally tell you this much only. And they will write one big prescription and give you 200 ml of dal, 200 ml of vegetable, 3 chapatis which are 6 inches in diameter, 100 ml of salad. They'll give one diet. If you add all that, it will come to this much only. Karatala bhikshas tarutala vasa. Quantity of food. They'll call it in fancy name, portion control. Very good. The bhikshu, sadhus and bhikshus were living like that only, happily, and walking so much in the day, eating this much food, remembering Bhagavan. So bhiksha, actually one should eat in this, the quantity this much, and offer it to Bhagavan, saying whatever is come, let it strengthen jnana and vairagya, let it not strengthen this bhoga vritti. Another shloka is this, Matacha, uska continuation it is, Matacha Parvati Devi, my mother is Parvati Devi, my father is Lord Shiva, Pita Devo Maheshwara. And all the others are my Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha. They are the devotees of Lord Shiva. And Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. All the 3 worlds is my home. So not limited to one house, but the whole universe is my home. And whoever is giving Bhiksha is Mother Parvati, and my father is Lord Shiva. Meaning, I am divine Amsha, I am not this body, perishable body. So through food also, food becomes a yajna. So, Shudvyadhischa chikitsyatam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. Now, bhiksha technically may be for grahasthi and for a brahmachari and a sannyasi. But you know, grahasthashram is the ashram which supports all the 3. Brahmachari, Vanaprasthi and a sannyasi supported by grahasthi. And what the grahasthi gets also, if one remembers this, that it is all coming from Bhagavan, then it becomes a bhiksha only. First shloka, if you remember, Nijagrahat Turnam Vinirgamyatam. Quickly get out of the identification with the home. So I may live in a home, but that's not the kartritva and bhoktritva goes. So whatever food one has got also, one should think of it as a prasad of the Lord only. Not that my hard work and I have earned and with that I am eating, so I deserve then that ego is going to come. If I say this is all by Bhiksha, Bhagavan only has sent, then the attitude of ego goes away. So Bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. So this attitude of Bhiksha can be there with everybody. That food has come on my table, Bhagavan only has sent. In fact, what Upanishad say, Bhagavan only is this food also. Annam brahmeti vyajana. Bhagavan only has become this food and is in front of us. It's not that Bhagavan is only giving food. The food also is Bhagavan only. Annam brahmeti vyajana. Annam na parichakshita. Don't waste food. How much wastage one does. The sad thing is it doesn't pinch also. Sometimes one just wastes. So as a spiritual seeker, one should be very sensitive to all that. Why should we waste food? Take only that much that one can complete and eat, not waste food. So all this bhiksha. Swadvannam natu yachetam. He says, drop the craving for food and attachment to taste. So taste and speech mastery lead to mind mastery. This one organ is for both taste and speech. If one masters this, one masters mind also. He says, drop the craving for taste. How to master taste. Eat what you don't like, but which is healthy. First point. No, Swami, I can't eat. Salad and all, I don't like only. There's all wrong notion is there in the head. That's why it is ghas poos. And it doesn't give any energy. And for protein, we have to take all this. Non-vegetarian and anda and all that. There is enough research to show that there's much more protein in some of the vegetarian sources than the meat and all that. No, but that requires a lot of quantity. No, minimum quantity only. Today there's enough research there. So what I don't like but which is healtly, I should just eat. It is good for the body. Then I start mastering the taste. Eat food without salt sometimes, without sugar sometimes, wantedly. These are very subtle addictions of taste. And Gujaratis, we practice. I don't know others practice or not, but Gujaratis, they will do some of them. In Chaitra Mas, they will not eat salt. No salt. And nothing happens to their sodium balance. Today we have become very conscious of everything. ये करेंगे तो ये हो जाएगा, ये करेंगे तो ये हो जाएगा, बाप रे. Sodium balance. Nothing happens. In one camp I did it. Generally I'll do that in many camps. So people who come with me to camp, some of them they know. So one camp we did, Uttarkashi camp we had. I was talking about Tapon Maharaj and all that. And then one day we went to Nachiketa Tal, and then Nachiketa's Vairagya and everything. So I had told the Swamiji at Uttarkashi that when we come back tonight, people will be exhausted, tired, okay? You make khichdi and kadhi. So they made khichdi and kadhi. And everybody is so tired, we had gone up some 6 kilometers, came down, all that. And then they gave khichdi and kadhi. Everybody took this much. Khichdi, kadhi, garam khichdi, kadhi, everything. I am sitting and eating. Then they start eating. They look at each other. What happened? Because they are trying to confirm whether they are only feeling that or others are also feeling that. There is no salt at all in that. Completely no salt. Now they have taken this much now. How to finish? Saltless food. But that addiction to salt, one will know only when we start eating. Otherwise, intellectually, one can say and one can very nicely listen. Tapon Maharaj used to do like this, Tapon Maharaj used to do like that, and Nachiketa was like this. But I want salt. People come to my camps, I do all kinds of sadhanas. Last time, Uttarkashi camp, I didn't do it. Bach gaye ye log. because we did some other different types of sadhanas that time. So, अब same sadhana हर बार करेंगे तो it becomes predictable. We have to become unpredictable. So sometimes try without salt, without sugar. Sometimes try eating everything together. And when there is a vast variety of food, not that time you do. Not only with this dal, chawal and roti sabji. And I'll give you the best idea. If you have tremendous vairagya, do it in a wedding. Take one bowl and go. On one side is continental, on one side is chaat, on one side is dosa, and one side is Punjabi. One bowl you go, pick up everything from wherever you want, mix it fully, properly, and then eat. Swamiji, best opportunity I'm telling you. If you want to test your vairagya and mastery over the taste buds, do it. No, then why will we go to wedding? We go to wedding for eating only this much type of food. I told you, we live to eat or eat to live. Opportunities enough are there how to practice spirituality. When we start giving these practical tips now, then people don't want to practice. Then they'll say, but these other things are all theory, tell us practical. Now do this. That is very difficult to do. Practice without sugar, without salt. In a month, in a week, one meal you can do or not. Then you will know what is the addiction which we have to taste. Little sugar is less in coffee or tea. How people who have experienced quietude, silence, absolute bliss, they taste doesn't even come to their head. But when we don't have this joy, what we will do? To experience a particular taste, we will drive for miles together and go to eat that food. See, one can do all that at one stage in life. I'm not saying don't do it. But I'm just saying for an intense spiritual seeker, these things are not even a botheration. One will just not bother. One is trying to realize the self. The best part is, when people make enquiries. So Char Dham Yatra I took and went, okay. This Char Dham Yatra when we went, the enquiry that people are making are more connected to travel and food. Nobody is asking which text Swamiji will take. How much satsang in a day will we have? Will we be able to do japa or not? Nothing. खाना कौन से टाइप का मिलेगा? जेई मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा? सुबह में ब्रेकफास्ट में क्या मिलेगा? लंच में क्या मिलेगा? शाम को क्या मिलेगा? होटल में मिलेगा कि ढाबा में मिलेगा? Terrific questions तो बाप रे. And Bhagwan's Kripa, I tell you, the agent whom we had hired, that fellow ditched us in the last minute. So we literally did Char Dham as the yatra is supposed to be. Agate Swagatam Kuryat, whatever comes except. All 20,000 questions they had, sab khak mein mil gaya ekdam. Now, on the way you are going some dhaba, you will find, then you sit there and eat. अब वही मिलेगा वहां पे और क्या मिलेगा? Otherwise, they will ask, will a cook come with us? What type of cook will that be? Will he cook Rajasthani? Will he cook South Indian? Will he cook Gujarati? All 20,000 questions they had. And Bhagwan said, ये लोग को साधना करवाना है ना, ditch them. हो गया. So sadhana has to happen like this only. It cannot happen remaining in some comfort zone. And I tell you, nobody complained. Some people had their grudges in the beginning, but in all the 4 places, the kind of darshan that we got, people have not imagined in their life. Badrinath, we went early morning, 2:30, full Nirmalya darshan we had. Actually saw Narayan Bhagwan without any decoration, nothing there. Black color murti is there, and Abhishek they do. And then that Raval comes, he removes everything, and then Abhishek everything is done, then again he puts back everything. Full thing we saw early morning. Same way in Kedarnath also. What a line and what a bheed there, Baap re Baap. But everybody got to do Abhishek, bow down to the Lord, everything happened. In every place. Then the sadhana happened properly. I was very happy. I said, Bhagwan, jo hua achhe ke liye hi ho gaya. Because then you feel the joy of having done sadhana. Go through hardships, overcome certain likes and dislikes, focus on the Lord's name. Physical level, maximum discomfort. Maximum, matlab maximum, cannot explain. But spiritual level, another level only. So that's called sadhana. So whatever life brings, accept. Dustarkat, suviramyatam, all that when we understand, then you can apply it here. If what is this logic? We go by so many things. Bhagwan's will is something else only. And when Bhagwan's will, we accept now. No problem. Vidhivashat praptena santushyatam. Shitoshnadi vishahyatam. Bear the pairs of opposites. Accept life as it comes. No cribbing, no complaining. This equanimity, how to practice, we have learned before. Hold on to your goal, accept with prasada buddhi, or remember even this will pass away. This is what? Karma yoga, bhakti yoga and jnana yoga. Any of this I can practice. Natu vritha vakyam samucharyatam. Don't gossip. This gossip is one terrible thing. Half of the time pass is done through gossip only. And best part is in spiritual campus, they'll start gossiping. This tendency to gossip doesn't go only. And what they have in the other, in the school and all that, that sometimes they continue here also. Last day of the camp, we have to keep full night awake. And do what? Some gossip they are doing. Or keep up till 2 o'clock in the night or 3 o'clock in the night, and then morning meditation, like that. But we had a nice time, last night. We remember last night. Arey, why don't you think about Bhagwan? At that time when camp is going on, so 6 days only camp is. 6 days at least I can sleep at early, get up early and experience a disciplined life. No, Swamiji, 5 days we did, but last day, So don't gossip. Mouth and ears are to speak and listen about the glories of the Lord, about saints, about sadhana. Great minds discuss ideas, mediocre minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. So don't gossip and don't allow others also to gossip. No, but if we can't control other people, then you can move away from there. If you can't move away, then mentally switch off. Simplest. See, she used to say very nicely, Anandamayi Ma used to say that Hari Katha hi Katha, Baki sab Vyarth Vyatha. So use the speech to purify the speech, to chant the name of the Lord. Why go on talking about so many other things? So for today we will stop here. No gossip. This is again 17th chapter. Unagitating speech, truthful, beneficial and loving, and by chanting, purify the speech. Don't talk vain words. So natu vritha vakyam samucharyatam. So next week we will be concluding this sadhana panchakam, and with that the 24th lesson will also be concluded. Today we have completed lesson 23. We started 24. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.